person to ask, perhaps, who might know best about that community is the person who represents that community. She is Wisconsin Congresswoman Gwen Moore, and she's live now in Milwaukee. Thank you so much, Congresswoman, for joining me. As I look at this case and how it has unraveled, and as I look at your community for the last 48 hours, I am led to wonder why those who justly feel underrepresented, unfairly represented in this community, perhaps, to choose this particular case to riot about, because the statistics on Syville Smith, the young man who was shot, are not good. This was a young man who was armed, who was running from the police, who has a bad track record, and it's now led to people who are perhaps holding him up as the gold standard for why there's a problem in the community. That's not so.
Well, Ashleigh, thank you for having me, and I just want to extend my heartfelt relief that none of the police officers lost their lives last night as a result of the violence. And I, in fact, have a staff person whose brother is a firefighter and is in the hospital now recovering. I want to really thank the faith leaders and the elected officials who were out on the street to assist the police in bringing some order to our community. Let me say that I think James Causey said in his op-ed with the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, I think he really outlined some of the economic changes that have occurred, particularly in that neighborhood. And as a matter of fact, I had just participated on a panel the very morning of the day that this violence broke out to talk about if Congress would just appropriate the desperately needed gap in infrastructure funds. That's for, water, like Flint and Milwaukee has a bad water problem, transportation, roads, airports, 80,000 bridges that are incompetent. We could create 20 million jobs, and that point just can't be ignored. On the other hand, there is a problem with both the police training in our city. I've proposed, for example, that there be some de-escalation training. And in the case of this young man, I have also gone after gun shops, for example, that put crime guns on the street. And so I noticed that our sheriff sort of ran down the list of crimes that this particular person had committed. But that does not obviate the concern that many people in the community have that there is unfair targeting of police enforcement in our community, that there's a very aggressive enforcement reminiscent of say, Ferguson.
And Congresswoman,
and that police...
Yeah. I'm sorry, I should let you know the mayor has just announced while we are speaking live that there's an 11 p.m. curfew now in the city of Milwaukee for those who are under the age of 18, and I sure hope that has a calming effect on all of this. I wanted to just quickly, if you'd indulge me, read something from your Facebook. You wrote, "I share the frustration of my constituents who feel they live in a city where justice is only afforded to some and not all. I also share the frustration of our local police officers who are desperately trying to uphold public safety in what they perceive as a caustic climate. We must find a way to strike a balance." And in that striking of a balance, I wonder if you feel that the balance can't be struck when protesters go after police who are doing their job, because clearly this young man had a weapon in his hand and was running from the police, a loaded weapon that was stolen with ammunition that was stolen. That's a police officer doing what we pay him to do, what we want him to do. And yet the riots somehow say otherwise. It leaves us all in a state of limbo. How do you find balance when those are the cases that are being highlighted and there are so many others that desperately need to be highlighted?
Well, Ashleigh, very clearly, if someone is brandishing a weapon, that's a no-brainer in terms of a police response. I think it's really important to get all the facts, because the other part of that, Ashleigh, is why was the stop made in the first place? That's what I'm really curious to hear about. I think that people are very concerned about whether or not, you get stopped for just, because you're a known criminal. Is that a reason that you should be stopped because you're driving through the community and you have a known record. There's no justification for brandishing a gun at a police officer and expecting a different response other than what we saw, you know, what we think we know.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, this is a community that's going to work really hard to pull itself together. I'm so proud that we saw last night the community coming together, folks cleaning up after the damage, and a police chief and local resources coming together. You know, we've contacted the White House about potential resources to help our community bridge this gap.
Well, there's two issues. There's money and there's leadership, and they are probably equally needed. But in the interim, I sure hope that your jurisdiction calms down and that peace is restored and that there's no other injuries on either side of this debate. Congresswoman, thank you very much. Gwen Moore joining us live from Milwaukee.
Keep us in your prayers. We're working on it.
Without question. Thank you again.